I finished writing the principle of nature. So I'm going to write it up on the, I wrote it out there. It's cold. I'm going to write it up on the bridge now. I already started. I forgot to turn the camera on. I already wrote 7. Principle of, hopefully I spelled principle right. N-A. Big hole right there. N-A-T-U-R-E. The principle of nature. It's fun to come out here and refresh this writing, just like I refresh the objectives and principles in my mind every day. Let me refresh this over here too. The wind kind of blows it away. This is the atomic principle. Atomic. Principle. Oh, that must be. Oh, that's not it. Of purpose, which I wrote twice. That's good enough for now. Just breathe it a little bit too. It's interesting how the wind just incrementally eats it away. Good and principle of good and evil. And I actually made an ampersand. Home of good and evil, not the principle of evil. That's good enough. Okay. Oh, and I need to go add something over there. Let's go do that. If I can just carry this without making it knock over. Need nut chalk over here. I write in grease pencil. This is where I keep over here. This is where I keep a log of everything. Then I write in more detail. So, just in white pencil. Definitely need more of this. These go quickly. This rough wooden surface really consumes the pencil. Oh. Remember these? Did you ever use these when you were little? Yeah. Pull off the top. I remember these when I was a kid. And then it reveals the grease pencil below. Today is the 17th. Just 2 days before my birthday. Oh. Why do I bother to put the O in there? 05. 05/17/19. I wrote and I need the black. I don't know why I chose to do it in different colors. Not enough room. The principle of nature without any room. I should have made it down one. Let's see if we can do this. This'll work. Principle, right? Not like school principle. Principle. No room for the of, so I'll just say nature. Principle, nature. There we go. On May 17th, 2019, I wrote Principle Nature. Now let's go fresh up the book and the writing bridge. Come here with me. We'll need white chalk for that. Here we go. Here's the book. The book is not doing very well though. Someone suggested I put a plastic bag. I think that's a good idea. I originally thought about that the first time I put it up here, but I didn't have a plastic bag. So now the book is all in terrible shape. Oh my gosh. Did I write anything on the inside cover? Oh, there's stickers and stuff. There's some stickers. It says to be safe, but not too safe. And it's got my card. And my contact info. So if the traffic people ever come down here and find all my writing, they'll know who to call. Blame. I got the stickers. Wow, this book is in terrible shape. I was slow to break camp then. Well, let's see, read the whole thing. It's long. 4 weeks back, and my overnight at Siberia was a brutal affair. The ground had absorbed a great deal of energy from sunlight, which it then radiated into the cooling night air from sundown until well past midnight. Sleep was very difficult then, as sweat pooled on the bottom of my tent, and I tossed and turned until 3 a.m. I arose at dawn, thoroughly drenched and fully sapped of all energy. The prospect of facing sunrise and the broiling day to come was daunting then, and I hastily broke camp in favor of a full retreat to my cool and comfortable home on the coast. 2 weeks later, on August 11th, and the story was different. Temperatures were 5 degrees cooler, and The earth was losing its collected daytime heat fast after sundown. This was due to an unexpected sandstorm which rose suddenly at dusk, with winds that seemingly drained the earth of heat before the long summer twilight was complete. I slept better then, save for the clamor of wind rattling my tent, and the grit of sand blowing in through open flaps, as well as the bite of some desert creepy-crawly which clambered into bed with me from the dark. When I woke the next day, the planet was in halcyon spirits, and I wondered if summer had somehow gone. The air temperature was cool, and atmosphere refreshingly clear after the long night of blowing sand. I stepped out of my tent into the pale light beneath a still ebony sky. The stars were gone in anticipation of the dawn. Day and night hung then in perfect balance. My fear of the desert was gone then too. I even contemplated the 1-mile hike to the edge of deep water. The desert had me fooled. Not deliberately, of course. There's far too much indifference here to support any malice. I was fooled by circumstance and the natural confluence of events and the quality and character of that particular morning's climate and my own foolish trust of a clockwork universe of ever-descending consequence. I was slow to break camp then. I lured myself to complicit peace and a quiet and settled attitude. Suddenly the heat returned with force. It was about 30 minutes after those beams first touched my skin after sunlight spilled over the Bristol Mountains. I felt my internal temperature begin to rise, rising faster than sweat could control. Besides, I was thoroughly dehydrated from the dry night wind. There wasn't enough moisture in me to mount an effective thermal defense. I was losing the battle even before it really began. A little panic then, a little haste. I broke camp quickly. I was on my motorcycle and moving along Route 66 in no time. That felt good. I was keeping the rising desert heat at bay through the wind of my ride and the false sense of safety that our contraptions sometimes provide. I stopped the bike once to admire distant Bahia, and another time to cast a melancholy gaze at the nothing that was once the ghost town of Baghdad. Neither time did I get off the bike. Neither time did I stop the engine. Too much risk in either action. Just keep moving. Forget about the heat. About 10 miles from my camp at Siberia, I saw the low, black profile of the volcanic cinder cone called Amboy Crater, and my route began taking me past the crater's miles of hardened black lava. This is a particularly hot place, hotter than the surrounding desert. This is due to the black rocks which absorb heat to such an extent that you cannot touch them with bare skin, and which radiate this heat all day and night in great waves upon the land. This area is one of the origin places for the great winds which drive the sandstorms here, an origin place for many indifferent desert things. On a whim, I decided to pull into Amboy Crater at the Bureau of Land Management's narrow, one-lane paved road leading into the National Monument. I knew there were covered picnic tables by the trailhead, which is the start of a 2-mile walk to the crater summit. I thought I'd rest a bit in the shade, ready myself for the long 200-mile ride home to the coast. I woke an hour later to utter silence. The same midsummer daytime silence which speaks such volumes in the desert. There was nobody around when I had arrived. Nobody came while I lay nearly naked on the concrete in the shade, ants climbing over my body, displaying the same open indifference I know so well here. I sat up and rubbed my eyes, which squinted bloodshot and red, still stinging from the night's blowing sand. Why do I do this? I asked myself. Why do I come to such places? No answer was needed. The silence was answer enough. I didn't think anything more, though I did write a short bit of prose then. I've copied it below. It's about the heat and the cold, the twin killers, as I called them. Here's what I wrote. There's an invisible killer prowling the entirety of the desert on a schedule both predictable and unposted. It swallows everyone and everything at once, and begins squeezing until we're either dead or its time for departure has come. It will come again tomorrow, or a little sooner or later, depending on the season. It disappears for some months, while its less dangerous fraternal twin takes its station. There's a short season of overlap when both twins can be met on the same day. It's that time now. Though never at the same hour. Remember that these killers cannot be seen, are soundless, have no mind, and are utterly without mercy. 6 hours later I was home, safe with my wife and daughter, enjoying a long, cool swim in the pool. 24 hours after I left Amboy Crater, a husband and wife from Los Angeles drove into the same empty parking lot. I'm sure nobody else was there. They probably parked their car in the same spot where I'd parked my motorcycle, which was the most convenient location in the lot, close to both the shelter of the covered picnic benches and the trailhead. At around 11 a.m., the couple set out for the crater. By 2 p.m., both were dead. I do remember that day. I do remember that experience. Being here, the panic of the heat rising, making my hasty escape from the desert, and then stopping at Amboy, sleeping, just blank, empty sleep, waking to the ants and the nakedness of my body and the heat, and making my way home and the safety of home, and then reading in the newspaper later that that couple had come to the same place and had not escaped the desert and had died. This is a dangerous place. There's no question of that. Put this book back. Put the rocks back on top. It's a good book to keep here. Not a good book. That's not what I mean. It's a good. That's a good copy to keep it. Beat up old copy. That's a good copy. So this is another thing I have called. I wrote the writing bridge over here. Although it doesn't stay on here very well because the wood is so worn. Oh, such contrived purpose. It's all contrived. Just all distraction. I'm not saying it's not a good distraction, but it is just a distraction. I can barely make out the word bridge. At all. Can't make that out at all anymore. The writing bridge. I added some stickers over here. Ow! The tripod's falling on my finger. There's this sign here, this hospital sign. See, I put my stickers. There's another copy of the book I'd forgotten I'd put here. From a long time ago. It's in better shape than that other one. It's over here. This is an older copy. I don't think it has the chapter, the cast, which is an important chapter. I added that later. That's that for that. That work is done. Now it's time for some breakfast. Yeah, a late breakfast. Thanks for joining me. See ya. Be safe, but not too safe. See ya.